Good evening. Welcome to the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Boy, we got some juicy news this evening. All right, I know some of you may have already heard some of the reports, but the San Francisco salon owner told Fox News that Nancy Pelosi's trip was disturbing and a slap in the face as she made an appointment to go into a beauty salon in San Francisco, which should not surprise you since all the other salons are closed. A defiant House Speaker Nancy Pelosi on Wednesday claimed she was set up, and a hair salon in San Francisco owes her an apology after it was revealed the California Democrat visited the business despite local ordinances keeping salons closed amid the coronavirus pandemic. Pelosi, Democrat from California, was responding to a backlash after Fox News first reported that she visited an e-salon in San Francisco on Monday afternoon for a wash and blowout. Salons in San Francisco had been closed since March and were only notified they could reopen on September 1st for outdoor hairstyling services only. Outdoor hairstyling services. This video, of course, shows Nancy Pelosi entering the salon without a mask as well. Pelosi Wednesday responded saying she has been to the salon over the years many times. Quote, "I take responsibility for trusting the word of the neighborhood salon that I have been to many times," Pelosi told reporters Wednesday. When they said they could accommodate people one at a time and we can set up that time, I trusted that. She added, as it turns out, it was a setup, so I take responsibility for falling for a setup. The salon owes me an apology for setting me up. Why does she owe you an apology, ma'am? Why? Why, Ms. Pelosi? Why did they owe you an apology? Your government there in California is the one that set up the rule that you only supposed to have appointments outside. You are unaware of that rule? Okay. In security footage obtained by Fox News and timestamped Monday at 3:08 p.m. Pacific time, the California powerhouse is seen walking through an e-salon in San Francisco with wet hair and without a mask over her mouth or nose. The stylist doing her hair can be seen following her wearing a black face mask. Pelosi on Wednesday downplayed the fact that she didn't wear a mask in the salon. "I just had my hair done," she says. "I just had my hair did and hair washed, and I don't wear my mask when I'm washing my hair," Nancy said. "Do you wear one when you wash your hair?" She asked the question. Well, the foolishness your party's got established and is going on, they're going to require people to wear masks on a constant basis. Meanwhile, during an exclusive interview with Fox News Tuesday, salon owner Erica Kios cast Pelosi's visit as a double standard. "It was a slap in the face," she said, and when she went in, that she feels that she can just go and get her stuff done while no one else can go in. "And I can't work," Kios told Fox News, adding that she can't believe the speaker didn't have a mask on. And we're supposed to look up to the woman, right? Kios said. "It is just disturbing." As for a comment on Tuesday, Pelosi spokesman Drew Hamill maintained that the speaker was following the rules as presented to her. Well, shouldn't she know the rules of her state? She is a lawmaker, isn't she? The speaker always wears a mask and complies with local COVID requirements. This is what her assistant says. This business offered for a speaker to come in on Monday and told her they were allowed by the city to have one customer at a time in the business. The speaker complied with the rules as presented to her by this establishment, he said. But the problem is the state itself said you can't enter an environment without a mask. So why are you coming with a mask? We even down here in Texas have to wear a mask. So what makes Ms. Pelosi so much different? Kios said Pelosi received a wash and a blow dry, but told Fox News that you're not supposed to blow dry hair according to the coronavirus safety precautions for hair salons. Then she goes on to quote, "We have been shut down for so long, not just me, but most of the small businesses, and I just can't. It's a feeling of being deflated, helpless, and honestly beaten down," Kios added. She said, "I have been fighting for 6 months for a business that took me 12 years to build, to reopen." She explained, "I am a single mom. I have 2 small children and I have no income." She added, "The fact that they did this and she came in, it's like a slap in the face." And I agree with you, Ms. Kios, because it's more than just a slap in the face, because she's also the one that is holding up the passage of the next stimulus payments. She's holding up the bill so she can get relief for states that are not taking care of their own cities and states. The Democratic-controlled states and Democratic-controlled mayors, governors, and mayors. And then meanwhile, of course, President Trump, he weighed in. He blasted the speaker for constantly lecturing everyone else on COVID-19 guidelines. He calls her crazy Nancy crazy Nancy Pelosi is being disseminated for having a beauty parlor open when all others are closed, and for not wearing a mask despite constantly lecturing everyone else. The president tweeted Wednesday, "We will almost certainly take back the House and send Nancy packing." And I can agree with you, Mr. President Trump, because this is foolishness. Everything else is on the people. It's like I can do whatever I want. Talking about white privilege, I don't believe in white privilege. I do believe that the Democrats believe that they have privileges even above their own co-workers, Republicans, in the parties, the House, and in the Senate. Well, we're going to take a short break right now. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth.
Dr. Melinda Morris supports a strong economy, safe neighborhoods, limited property taxes, and promotes an improved education system. Dr. Melinda Morris wants to improve access and insurance coverage for medical care. Dr. Morris is pro-life and will support right-to-life legislation in Austin. Dr. Morris will remain true to her values when she is elected to office. She is going to Austin to promote life, prosperity, and personal freedom for the constituents of Senate District 13.
Welcome back. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth, with your host, David Colbert. Biden accuses Trump, not protesters, of inciting violence in U.S. cities, in the article the New York Post stated. In a speech Wednesday in Wilmington, Delaware, former Vice President Joe Biden accused President Trump of inciting violence as riots roiled a number of cities across the country, but said nothing to condemn Antifa or other agitators believed to be behind the burning and the looting. Biden, a Democratic presidential nominee, called on Trump to be focused on getting students back to classroom and working with members of Congress to provide emergency funding to allow them to do it safely. Now, we know that these are talking points. I'm going to tell you, I was watching this speech today, yesterday, on Vice President Biden, on former Vice President Biden. I don't know if anybody else noticed this, but I'm sure the press is going to be talking about this too. And they probably talk about it at night, we're here the next day, but I don't know what happened. He was up there and he kept doing one of these numbers. I'm like, what does he looking at? He did it several times. Anybody else see that? He went like this. I'm like, what is he looking at? It's like he's like, where am I at? Can you show me where I'm going? And you can see clearly he was, maybe I'm reading a little bit from this article, but he was responding from answers on a page. How can you do that? Unless you already have been pre-arranged those questions and given the answers that you're supposed to say, Mr. Biden. That's what you should be focused on, he tells the president. Getting our kids back to school safely. Keeping schools safe, able to remain open. Not whipping up fear and division. Who's whipping up fear and division? The Democratic Party is the one that constantly are talking about wear your mask. We're afraid the numbers are rising and all a big lie. When the CDC came out to correct the reports, telling you that only about 10,000 people in this country actually died of COVID-19 alone, and the others were a bunch of other things that were happening in their bodies, may have had a little of this in them, but I'm telling you from before I told you, they were tagging deaths with COVID-19 just to raise the numbers. Then he says to President Trump, get off Twitter and start talking to congressional leaders in both parties. Invite them to the Oval Office. Why? You have a house that you need to sit down and legislate the rules. The president should not have to babysit the House of Representatives to make decisions on legislation bringing into law. Wednesday, the first time in months, he fielded questions. Wednesday was the first time. He fielded questions, but really weren't fielding questions. I don't know if anybody watched this, but there was such soft questions. I'm like, did anybody ask him about his son? They would have did this to President Trump. Anybody ask him about the things that were going on in the UK involving his son Hunter? Anybody ask him about Hunter Biden? Anybody ask him about why was President Trump being investigated by his administration before they left office and spying on President Trump? Did anybody ask him any of those questions? But I can guarantee you, had he been a Republican candidate, they would have asked him those questions. And stop your boast, he says, about never being seen at what you can do. The way he's talking, they're writing it down here. And stop your boast about never being seen. I don't know what this, I guess seen is what he's trying to say, at what you can do anything. The statement doesn't even make any sense. You always talk about your ability to negotiate. Negotiate a deal. I was listening to him. Negotiate a deal with somebody other than yourself. Biden said, and that's the way he talked. Mangling his remarks. He was mangling. He was butchering his own speech. He's supposed to prepare himself. Of course, we can see clearly that there were prepared notes that he was looking at. Biden also criticized Trump for not speaking out about the shooting of Jacob Blake by police. And I've heard President Trump talk about that. He said he was looking into these issues. And he deals directly with law enforcement. It doesn't need to be brought out in the media exactly what's going on. These things, some of these things need to be researched and looked into before you go off half-cocked, putting stuff on TV and in the media. Because a lot of the times they cut the reports, they edit them, so they're cutting out the parts that show that these people are resisting arrest. Both those other deaths that were talked about, they both were resisting arrest. Nobody showed that. When he was asked about what should be done with regard to the young man shooting him back of 7 times in front of his children, he said, I didn't hear much of anything come from him. So I wish he'd take responsibility, Biden said during the speech. Responsibility for what? For Democratic cities that are allowing violence to keep going in their streets? As much as he'd like to be running against somebody else, this is him saying Biden, he's running against me, Joe Biden. And the fact is that he is not acting very responsibly. And I'll tell you something else. I'm going to give you an observation. They didn't like Bernie Sanders. They didn't like him. They figured, well, we could keep Joe Biden under control, so they told everybody, go behind him, and we'll give you something for it later. The problem is that Bernie Sanders probably would have put up a better showing as a Democratic socialist than Joe Biden. Joe Biden can't even hold up his own. He looks foolish up there when he's standing there. It's like he's like looking at somebody, can you help me out? That's what it looks like he's doing. Asked if the police officer involved in the shooting of Blake should be charged, Biden said the legal process has to play out. Okay, very easy statement. Anyway, we're going to take a short break right now. We're going to finish that report. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. We'll be right back.
We come together to imagine a future determined by the shining light of our hopes and values and faith. A country where we are judged by our character with dignity and respect for all. The belief that all are created equal, that lives matter irrespective of race, creed, or color. Committed to excelling beyond our dreams. 4 years ago, we faced an historic crossroad. Career politicians promising change every election, but delivering emptiness. We chose a different path. A man who is not a politician. A man who cares. A man who works tirelessly for you. Still, politicians spun their deceptions and obstructed progress, fanning the flames of lawlessness. We all know that it is easy to criticize. It takes a true leader to solve problems. COVID-19, while others criticize without solutions, President Trump's swift action saved lives. And as leading Democrats want to keep businesses closed down, our president is leading the way for a full economic recovery. We are America. We as Americans work together to overcome challenges, write our own stories. America, land of promise, land of opportunity, land of heroes, land of greatness.
Welcome back. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice here on the CTM News Network, and I'm your host, David Colbert. Joe Biden botches remarks about COVID-19 deaths told in speech. Here's a quote. One of Trump guys riding along in vans is citing response shooting rubber bullets, I guess, or paintballs. Apparently, there was someone shot by someone in the crowd with a bullet and killed. I think that person should meet the legal requirements of whatever that's called for. Whatever that's called for, it should be investigated and should follow through on what needs to be done. Let the judicial system work. Let's make sure justice is done, he said. This is very sad, the way he's coming across. But like I told you before, he can't even get things out straight. This is very sad. I'm telling you, if he entered the hospital in that condition he is right now, they would admit him for testing and brain scans and everything else for the way he behaves when he gets in front of a crowd. When he's talking to people, it's like he loses his train of thought. You know, I hate it, but it looks like he's suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's. So somebody needs to look into it instead of letting this man run around. It's not a joke. We're not trying to insult him. We're just saying he needs to get some help. Maybe they can give him some medication to help him or something. Michael Forrest Renwell, who refers to himself as 100% Antifa, is under investigation for Danielson's shooting. That's the one that Biden didn't know about. Biden and his running mate, Senator Kamala Harris, haven't been taking questions from reporters during their campaign events, many of which are delivered virtually. Oh no, they're not going to come out. They're afraid they're going to run into somebody from the conservative media who are going to question them for the true questions that they need to be asking. They need to be asking questions like, what about this stuff? Would you spy on the campaign of President Trump in the very beginning? What about Hunter Biden? What about all these things? You're going to step into the White House and you have already done a quid pro quo, the one that you tried to get President Trump impeached for. He's already known. It's a fact, people. He did a quid pro quo, whatever it is, and he was saw doing it on national media. So, should he be impeached before he enters the office? Well, I say if they were trying to impeach President Trump, impeach him. We saw he did a quid pro quo. We know his son Hunter had no idea of what he was doing, yet he was paid over $1 billion to do it by a corrupt Ukrainian oil company. Anyway, move on to the next story here. Kamala Harris promises national mandate if elected. How many of y'all want some national mandate to wear masks? You can hardly breathe through it right now the way it is. So you want them to create a national mandate? I don't think any Democrat citizen, constituent, wants to vote for any foolishness like this. And I'm going to tell you, the House people are the same way, guys. You will have to vote them out of Congress. Those are in there now. Try a new set of whoever. But you have to vote them out of there, because if you vote the ones in that's going to do that, we're going to be fighting from this beginning of the election, when President Trump gets reelected, all the way for the next 4 years, trying to get this garbage straightened out, and nothing else is going to get done. We've got to get them out of control of the House and keep control of the Senate. Kamala Harris said on Friday that a nationwide mask mandate would be among the first orders of business as she and Joe Biden were elected to the White House in November, calling it the responsible thing to do. Give me a freaking break. Responsible thing to do for what? That is encroaching on our freedoms. We have a freedom to do whatever the heck we want to do. If you feel unsafe when you go out, you can wear a mask. But if you don't feel unsafe, why should we be required to wear a mask? It's up to us. If we want to get this flu or disease, whatever you want to call it, hey, we should have the right to choose according to the Constitution. We don't have to, as far as us breathing on people. If you feel, like I said, if you're afraid and you have a problem with all that, wear your mask if you want. But you're not going to force me to wear it forever. Forget it. There's going to be a lot of people in jail, and a lot of protests and everything else. If they get in there, this nation will no longer be the United States of America, because the states will be divided. The Democratic vice presidential nominee expanded on the 3-month plan that Biden has promised to enact it if he won. The White House explained that every American would be expected to wear a face covering amid the pandemic. Yes, Harris, 55, said when asked if that would be one of their first actions in power during an interview on NBC today, and she says it's a standard. I mean, nobody is going to be punished, Harris continued, when asked how it would be enforced. Excuse me? It's a standard, I mean. Nobody's going to be punished. Nobody's going to be punished? What are you saying? Harris continued when asked how it would be enforced. Nobody likes to wear a mask. This is a universal feeling, right? So that's not the point, she said. The point is this is what we are, responsible people who love our neighbors. We have to just do that right now. God willing, it won't be forever. Yeah, God willing. Yeah, don't even say anything about God. Not the way that you Democrats are running our House, our Senate, or in our Senate and in the government. You're on the side of the enemy. So the CDC recommends mask wearing in public when you're unable to stay 6 feet away. So that means if you're in a store and you can stay 6 feet away, you shouldn't have to wear a mask. And so it says President Trump rejected Biden's mandate earlier this month during a White House briefing, telling reporters the Democratic nominee has showed an appalling lack of respect for the American people. And I agree with you, Mr. President. It is up to the governors. We want to have a certain freedom, Trump said. And I really don't think it's up to the governor. I think it's up to the American people. You should not have to be forced to do anything that you don't want to do. On a disease that they say the incubation period was only 14 days. So why are we still wearing masks months later? Joe Biden called for a nationwide mask mandate. If the president has unilateral power to order every single citizen to cover their face, nearly all the instances, what our powers does, he have asked. And when I tell you, there's going to be a darn revolution if that knucklehead gets in office. In today's interview, Harris was also asked about the police shooting of Jacob Blake, which continued to cause racial unrest across the nation. It caused racial unrest. Spelling's bad here. Harris, a former prosecutor who identifies as black, she identifies as black, really she doesn't really have much of that in her at all, was probed on whether she thought the officer who shot Blake needed to be charged. He used his use of force, he says, he used a force that was 7 bullets coming out of a gun at close range in the back of a man. I don't see how anybody could reason that that was justifiable. Well, Ms. Harris, did anybody tell you he was trying to reach the side of his vehicle? Everybody, I just saw a video recently where a man reached inside his vehicle, got his gun out and shot 2 officers. So what am I going to do? Wait until you reach completely inside your vehicle and pull out a gun and shoot at me? No. I'm not going to wait to see what you're going to pull out. You make a movement like that after I done told you to stop and told you that you need to turn around or you need to lay down, that you're being put into handcuffs because of your behavior. A lot of them do this, and I've seen it too clearly. Then she goes on to say, I think there should be a thorough investigation, and based on what I've seen, it seems officers should be charged. Yeah, of course, you're the one that wanted to put African Americans in jail in droves, just like your presidential nominee, Joe Biden, in 94. Yeah, you people, if you're black, please. He says, if you vote for President Trump, you ain't black. I'm going to say the difference. If you vote for Joe Biden, you ain't black, because if you black, then he's going to put you in jail if he has the opportunity. He tried his best to do that to so many of our young black men over the years. His policies and stuff that caused these lengthy sentences. And him and his partner, Kamala Harris, is known for giving African American or black men longer terms in prison, even in California. If you want to go to jail, black men, vote for Biden and vote for Kamala Harris. They've already proven that they want to put you behind bars. I've told you people, stop believing what these people are saying to you. They're lying to you. They will tell you anything to get your vote. They did it for years, and they turned their back on us. Me, black, I'm black. So they turned their back on us. They lied all these years and turned their back on us. So we're going to take a short break right now here on the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. We'll be right back.
Commander-in-Chief. It's more than just a job. Since taking office, President Donald Trump has rebuilt our military, repaired a broken VA, and eliminated Soleimani, al-Baghdadi, ISIS, the world's deadliest terrorists brought to justice. Today, America is safer and stronger than ever. Because to President Trump, it's more than just a job. It's a sworn duty to keep America safe.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
We come together to imagine a future determined by the shining light of our hopes and values and faith. A country where we are judged by our character with dignity and respect for all. The belief that all are created equal, that lives matter irrespective of race, creed, or color. Committed to excelling beyond our dreams. 4 years ago, we faced an historic crossroad. Career politicians promising change every election, but delivering emptiness. We chose a different path. A man who is not a politician. A man who cares. A man who works tirelessly for you. Still, politicians spun their deceptions and obstructed progress, fanning the flames of lawlessness. We all know that it is easy to criticize. It takes a true leader to solve problems. COVID-19, while others criticize without solutions, President Trump's swift action saved lives. And as leading Democrats want to keep businesses closed down, our president is leading the way for a full economic recovery. We are America. We as Americans work together to overcome challenges, write our own stories. America, land of promise, land of opportunity, land of heroes, land of greatness.
Welcome back. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Oh my goodness. President Trump taunted his Democratic opponent with a new nickname, Joe Biden. Joe Hiding or Hiding. Can you believe what's happening? Trump tweeted Wednesday with a link to Breitbart article. They give Joe Biden the questions and he reads them the answer. In the story, the Trump campaign accuses Joe Biden of accidentally reading an instructional note from a teleprompter as he answered questions in an interview. They can say what they want. The man is not all there. He needs people to help him keep on track. Let him help him. I don't care. Because we know he cannot stand alone as president of this country. If he want to campaign, get his little notes and make sure he's answered, get his questions, give it to him ahead of time. I do that on interviews to see what people, want me to ask them. If we're doing things, we discuss topics, but I don't tell them what to say or how to answer. In an interview set to air Sunday with NBC's 6th annual anchor, Jackie Nespral, Biden discussed Latin American diplomacy, bashing Trump's policies in Venezuela before reading the top line message. So he didn't read he didn't read the top line message. Probably, let me get to that now. The quote is here from Biden. I understand that Cuba, along with Russia and China, has contributed to the political impasse in Venezuela as well. What's the president doing? Look, Venezuela top line message is President Trump's policies is an abject failure, Biden said. Let me tell you something about Venezuela. I have no love for Venezuela, especially since they had that gentleman in there before. You remember him? He hated this country. He hated America. He hated on America. Yet people in Hollywood ran down there sucking up to their former president or leader or whatever, who now is gone. He passed away. But they hated America. So why should we be in such a way loving people that hated us and treated us poorly? Now, we're not talking about individuals. We're talking about countries coming out against us. Then somebody like Biden, he doesn't know what to do, Trump said. He doesn't come out because he can't. He doesn't take any questions from reporters. This guy doesn't come out of his basement, and he hasn't taken one question. Now, on Wednesday, he did take some questions, but it looked like they were all staged, like they gave it to him. And it looked like he was taking cues from somebody on the side, because every few minutes he did one of these numbers. I'm like, what is he looking at? Biden made a campaign stop in Pittsburgh last weekend after previously saying he would likely not hit the campaign trail again until after Labor Day. Joe Biden is coming out of the basement earlier than he has hoped for 10 days. That's because he still was on his meds treatment. They were trying to deal with the Alzheimer's and dementia, Mr. Trump, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get him in line, get him straight. Anyway, because his people told him he has no choice. His poll numbers are plunging, Trump tweeted Sunday, going to Pittsburgh where I have helped the industry to record last year and then back to his basement for an extended period of time. And I do want to, I'm not going to apologize, but that statement I just made about his medication, I don't know, and I really don't believe he is being medicated. That's why I believe there's some issues still arising with former Vice President Biden. But I am saying that I believe he needs some kind of medication to deal with the Alzheimer's and the dementia that is onset in his life. These are health issues and he needs to deal with it. I have my own health issues, but I want him to understand, stop trying to be Mr. Big Man or whatever and start taking care of yourself. This is also to you, Jill Biden. You need to take care of your husband. Really, to tell you the truth, they might well just let Kamala Harris run for president. Just get Joe Biden to step down and let her go ahead and run. Because the problem is, they waited late, yes. They're hoping that she get in there. But her policies are just as radical or even more radical than former Vice President Joe Biden. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back at you in a moment here on the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert.
Joe Biden, 47 years in Washington, 47 years of failure, skyrocketing healthcare and drug prices, higher taxes on working families, disastrous trade deals, jobs shipped to China and Mexico, total failure. Now Biden's embraced the failed policies of the radical left, the biggest tax increase ever, massive job-killing regulations, amnesty for illegal immigrants. After 47 years of failure, we've had more than enough.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Welcome back. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert. Once again, I want to encourage you in November to get out and vote Republican. Put President Donald J. Trump back in the office so we can keep moving our country forward. Have you looked at the stock market numbers lately? Nobody's looking at the fact that it's rising. You don't hear the fake news media saying how it's rising. A lot of them don't even put the ticker on there anymore. It's up over 28,000. The largest rise I've seen ever in the Dow, yet nobody's talking about it. This economy is booming back. And he's talking about this, Biden's talking about this bring back better. Well, we need to see the Better Business Bureau. See that? Bring back better. The only way we're going to bring it back better is to charge the Democrats with violating the standards in the Better Business Bureau because they're running a poor business in the House of Representatives and in our government. We have to do away with them. And please vote out Nancy